This is a digital story about the Hicks family reunion quilts. My grandmother on my mother's side is a quilter. She learned to sew at a very early age, making all of her own clothes in high school, all my mom's clothes, and many of my own childhood dresses. She has been making quilts for over 30 years. Every 3 years, we have a family reunion at a park. At that reunion, my grandmother brings pre-made quilt squares so that everyone may sign one. She will use all of those quilt squares to create a queen-size quilt that will be raffled off the following year to a family member. This year in particular, the pattern that my grandmother chose was flying geese. In this pattern, there are 71 pieces that were sewn together to create the final small square. My grandmother, on the left, goes around to everyone's campsite and has him or her each sign a square. The squares usually include your full name, the year, and any other fun thing you wish to include. Everyone takes their turn, making sure that they write perfectly. She will sew everybody's square into the final quilt that will be displayed for the following year. Here is a quilt from our previous reunion. As stated above, we usually raffle these off. This year in particular, one of our family members who was married in had a sibling who was dying and they had to fly to the Philippines, and instead of raffling off the quilt, we all decided it was better to send the love to them and show our support. This is the quilt that was raffled this year. My grandmother put names inside of a hat and drew one name. The lucky recipient of this quilt happened to be a family member who recently lost her husband to cancer a few weeks before the reunion. This was so amazing because you can only get a quilt once, and this was the last quilt her husband ever signed. It was truly an amazing drawing, and everyone was so very pleased with the result. This is where our family began, and where their quilting and sewing began with their mother. Now it has become a tradition that we continue to be a part of, even if not everyone can join every year. We know that there is so much love and family sewn into each quilt, and if you are as lucky as we are to get to see how that love is shared, then you know the traditions and stories that go into each stitch.